Flight paths are garbage. They've always been garbage. Since the moment of conception, the entire systems needed a major overhaul. Players in vanilla didn't really complain though. They were accustomed to inconvenience. It came with the MMO territory. Everything was a chore in those days, and took 10 times longer to accomplish. Leveling, questing, raiding, traveling, whatever. Back in the good old days, the genre was purposely built to be slow and cumbersome. Flight paths in the Burning Crusade might have seemed superior to classic WoW, but they weren't. It was all an illusion. The Outland map was simply more condensed, and there were less flight points to learn, but overall the paths themselves weren't improved at all. However, BC was the origin of flying mounts, so instantly the need to improve flight paths was made obsolete overnight. No one cared how awful the system was, because it could be bypassed entirely, and from that point on, up until Warlords, the only time you purchased an automated flight was when you needed to step away from your keyboard. Now that we're in Warlords, and we don't have manual flight, we find ourselves using flight paths more than ever to get around. And every time we hitch a ride on AFK Airlines, we're reminded of just how terrible the system truly is. It's kind of funny when you think about it. A majority of players have only started screaming today for improvements on a system that's been broken for over 10 friggin' years. Anyway, how would I fix the problem? Well, first of all, I should point out that my suggestions are kinda drastic, so I wouldn't expect to see them arrive in Warlords of Draenor, or any other previous versions of the game. I'm just talking about instituting a brand new system for the next expansion and beyond. I'd start by introducing a new faction of mechanics and jet pilots into the game. I know it's generic, but let's just call them the Flying Aces for simplicity's sake. They could be a group of goblins and gnomes who put aside their differences in order to provide us with a better system of transportation. Some of these aces are doing this for the greater good, while others are more interested in making a profit. The Flying Aces now manage every flight point on every map of the new expansion. They've completely eliminated overly complicated itineraries. From now on, Point A, your starting destination, will always link directly to Point B, the place you want to go. It might be a pain in the ass for Blizzard to code so many different possible flight paths, but it would be well worth the effort, not to mention the obligatory sacrificed raid tier. So you might be asking, why did I bother to make the Flying Aces a faction? Well, this is to give them a reputation we can grind. We start off with a neutral standing, and every flight we purchase nets us a set amount of points. This system can have a daily cap, so your first flight of the day grants you 500 rep points, your second grants you 250, your third 125, and so on, all the way down to 0. This will prevent players from grinding themselves to Exalted on the very first day of the new expansion's launch. When you reach a friendly status with the Flying Aces, they can enroll you in a frequent flyer program. This will just reward you a special in-game currency that mirrors your existing reputation gains, and can be used to purchase fun items from the Aces faction vendor, Sky Mallbot. At Honored, the Aces will provide you with a considerable increase in flight speed. At Revered, they'll open up daily quests, like bombing runs and rescue missions. And finally, at Exalted, they'll grant you access to stationary teleporters. You can now instantly transport yourself to any Aces flight point of your choosing. Of course, Blizzard would have to give this ability a really long cooldown, like 4 hours or so, to keep it from becoming the main mode of transportation. They could also make the cost of using this transporter quite steep, and prevent it from rewarding players with any frequent flyer miles. I've added a bit of novelty to this flight path revamp, but ultimately, Blizzard's goal should be to minimize our time spent in auto flight. Traveling is a chore, but it shouldn't be a punishment. If we reach our destinations quickly, we'll have more free time to enjoy the game. Well, that's it for me. If you like this video, please comment and subscribe. Thanks. Later.